God, I can't see up this thing. Pull this down. Actually, can you guys hear me with the microphone? Or? No. Yeah. Okay. How's that? Is that better? Yeah. I would like to thank Peg and Nancy because, as usual, they put on a kick-ass show. So if I could get a round of applause for them. Because without you, I wouldn't be here reading. So this month's theme I think is great because I'm an animal aficionado. In fact, if this place weren't so amazingly beautiful, I would have loved to have brought my 2 dogs, but that would have been a little scary because they're absolutely insane. So instead, I just had them be creative consultants on this piece, which is tentatively called Animal. Achilles doesn't walk well on a leash. Actually saying that Achilles doesn't walk well on a leash is like saying that Mal had a bit of an anger issue. Achilles is what one might call a puller, a yanker, if you will. He knows where he wants to go and he's going there. And you can either follow his lead or drop the leash and watch him plow his way through the world. The shelter volunteer is trying to find a nice way of explaining this to me. We're sitting in the Get Acquainted room at Oakland Animal Services. You might think the shelter here in this city of guns and garbage might be similarly thrashed. But the place is more Piedmont Avenue than International Boulevard. That is to say, it's actually pretty nice. Penny is the volunteer's name. She's actually pretty nice, too. I'd like to walk her on the leash. I wonder how she'd react to being harnessed. I won't even get into the niceties of doggy style. I'm not here for that. I mean, it would be a nice adoption bonus, but what I'm here to do is find a dog. Not a bitch, a dog. It's time. That's what I told myself on the way over here, navigating the bumps and weaves that make up Interstate 880. I'm 26 years old. I have all the hallmarks of a grown-up. Place, car, job. I'm even starting to bald. You have to look hard. It's at the back of my head, the place where my skull creates a bump. If I were to look it up, I could tell you that it's a perfectly normal feature of my head, and it's called the occipital protuberance. I know that because, well, I've already looked it up. I look up things like that, bumps and bruises and unexpected ouchies in the middle of the night. I'm single. I don't have anyone else to bother with this kind of stuff, so I bother the internet. And fortunately, the internet doesn't mind. In fact, it was the night that I was looking at my occipital protuberance that I stumbled upon Achilles. It was one of those serious I can't sleep nights. You just know when those are going to drag on, pulling apart against themselves like taffy or caramel, and sometimes the only choice is just to give in. I couldn't sleep, so I did what I do when my eyes are open and my brain is working despite the dark and the fog outside. I got out my little box of goodies, otherwise known as where I keep my weed. Hey, I'm a 20-something-year-old guy in the Bay Area. What else would you expect other than some element of self-medication? So properly medicated and with popcorn to chew at hand, I set out to surf the net. Somehow my attention turned to dogs. It tends to, despite everything, it does. I don't know what it was about Achilles, I say to Penny now. I was never much of a pit bull fan. We had fluffy dogs growing up. What kind, she asks. Fluffy. She laughs, but it's more a roll of the eyes than a genuine laugh. Still, I got a reaction. It's a start. You have your own place, she asks. I do. Backyard? You can call it that. She cups her chin in her hand. Achilles will need a backyard. He's going to need a way to run off all his energy. Walks just aren't enough. Well, I say it wasn't like I was planning on walking him. Feeding him either, I take it. Maybe every other week. Out of nowhere, I think of the band. You know that song, The Weight? Crazy Chester followed me. He caught me in the fog. Said I will fix your rad if you take Jack, my dog. Won't you feed him when you can? Seriously, Penny says. Seriously, I say. I'm falling in love with her green eyes, but that doesn't mean much. I'm a guy in my mid-20s. I fall in love 16 times a day. It's not love like the way you might describe it. I guess the word might be more akin to infatuation. I see infatuation as a magnet, a force of nature you can't really control, a draw that both pushes and pulls. What, you thought it was all about hard-ons? Look, she says, it's kind of my job to make sure you adopt a pet that's right for you. I'm not trying to lecture, but this is a pretty big commitment. Trust me, I say. I know. There is a moment of silence into which you can read anything at all. Well, good, she says, filling that void. Oops, watch it. Let's talk about what you want from a dog. I can tell her that I want the same as everyone wants. companionship, love, someone to lick your toes while you surf the web in the recliner, you know, the usual suspects. And that may very well be true, but that's not all there is to it. We develop relationships to manage scars, or didn't you know that? I want a buddy, I say, and that part is at least true. A wet nose and absolutely no sense of personal space, someone to nudge me awake come morning, a paw to tap my knee when I fall too deeply into my own thoughts, as I suspect I'm doing right now, a face to poke around the corner, looking only slightly forlorn as I duck into a coffee shop for an Americano. To go, of course, because we're going for a walk. By the way, when I was practicing this today at home, which I did, I said the word walk, and my dogs went absolutely apeshit. That was kind of dumb, I should have spelled it out. Because I will W-A-L-K my dog. I'll W-A-L-K him and feed him. And you better believe all the basics will be covered. Of that, I am sure. Well, she says, because Penny seems to say well a lot. Having your dog as a buddy is a good start. If you're wondering what Achilles is doing this entire time, wonder no more. He's busily humping my leg, which could come off as a cheap joke if it weren't the damn truth. We've been trying to ignore the obvious, Penny and I, but it's getting ridiculous. I bet the dog's red rocketing. I haven't checked. I really don't want to know. Achilles, I say, my voice sounding far too weak to be a fleas master, let alone a dog. Knock it off. But inside I'm amused. Okay, I know what you're thinking, at least I think I do, and you're wrong. I'm not getting any jollies out of this, at least not the kind of jollies that you're not supposed to get with a member of another species. It's the jollies of approval. I mean, if you didn't like me, you wouldn't hump me, right? There's a sound from what sounds like, this sound from what seems like several rooms over, is the laugh of a woman, a cackle actually, one of those multi-layered, triple-toned emissions destined to catch every eardrum within reach. When I hear a woman laugh like that, I wonder why I am not gay. My balls shrivel up so tightly that I sometimes wonder if a C-section will be required to retrieve them. I was sitting in a cafe in Fairfax writing this, and there was a woman, she was laughing, and my balls shriveled up. I don't have balls, but if I did, it would shrivel up. A woman who laughs like that aren't about anything external. A woman who laughs like that is concerned with only one thing, happiness, or more precisely, her lack thereof. She sounds like a cat person, Penny says. Achilles is still humping away. He's persistent. I've got to give him points for that. I look down at him and I could swear he's got a grin on his face. I mean, I know dogs smile or supposedly smile, but I was never sure I really bought it until right now. Achilles, I say, my voice slightly stronger this time. He looks at me, grins wider, and hops off. I'm proud of myself. If I had a tie on, I'd straighten it, sit up with a little more confidence. As it is, I shoot my own grin at Penny. See, she says, he listens. I've only had one other dog in my life. Snort wasn't even mine, not specifically. He was my family's. He got his name from his bark, which sounded for all the world as if it were coming from underneath a wall of boogers. The dog seemed constantly congested, but when we took him to the vet, his lungs sounded the all clear. Snort defined mutt. There really was no way to tell where one breed stopped and another picked up. Looking back, I can guess that he was part lab, part shepherd, and a whole lot of Heinz 57 in between. And that's all I have to say about Snort for right now. Yeah, I say, looks like he does. We sit there for a minute, the three of us, not quite knowing what to do with each other. There could be a relationship here, but I'm not sure with whom and in which direction everything will go. Maybe I'll adopt Penny and start dating Achilles. It's the Bay Area. You can do things like that. I'll take him, I say. I don't know where the words come from. They just shoot out my mouth, and just like that, I can't take them back. I want to chase after those words, screaming, wait! But they won't wait. They're like the ice cream man, you know? Eddie Murphy once said the ice cream man always drove an extra block. And I know he'd seen us and shit, but I think he'd just be in the car with his friends saying, well, watch out now, how fast I make these motherfuckers run. Penny's watching me. She's got this look on her face. It's the kind of look women get when you think they're going to react one way, and they totally turn on you. I like surprises as much as the next do, but this isn't a good surprise. This is one of those surprises that leaves you saying, baby, I thought you'd be happy. You can't just buy him, she says. The woman in the next room laughs again. This time it's worse. It's beyond nails or a chalkboard. It's a hammer on my nuts. I'm not buying him, I say. I'm adopting him. There's a difference. I understand that, she says. She's cute when she's being difficult. Damn it. Sometimes, often, I think being asexual would be so much easier. Is it too late in my life to get castrated? Me and Achilles would be ball-less buddies forever. Perfect. But it's not just an issue of you choosing him, she says. It's an issue of us vetting you, for lack of a better word. Vetting? As in making sure I don't have heartworms and expelling my anal glands? I'm going to ignore that, she says. But she's smiling even just a little, or at least I'd like to think she is. So you're going to vet me? Yes, vet as in check you out. Now we're talking. If I were either super slick or incredibly stupid, I would lay one of the following lines on her. I'll give you my own vaccine injection. Leashes aren't just for walks. Want to check my breath up close and personal? I should probably mention that at this point, Achilles has given up on humping me and instead is concentrating on himself. I'm not sure that I need to specify exactly which section of himself is receiving his full attention, but let me just say that he is grunting and groaning. It's getting a little loud and a lot embarrassing. When I say this is my kind of dog, I'm serious. He's balls out, or rather, no balls out. What's more, he's funny. How seriously can you take yourself if you're down to clean your Johnson in front of an audience? I'm going to stop there. Thank you.